Your impact is really what the team can do without you, not with you particular. If the team doesn't build that capability or ownership, the improvement may not last for longer. Default thought rather than an optional thought or an afterthought, right, for the whole team.
Hi everyone, welcome to TestMu AI's XP webinar series. Through XP series, we basically dive into a world of insights and innovation featuring renowned industry experts and business leaders who are working in the testing and quality engineering ecosystem. I'm your host, Kavya, Director of Product Marketing at TestMu AI, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you all with us today. So, whether you're tuning in from your office or your home or somewhere in between, thank you for being here and taking out this time and hour to listen to us. So, today's session promises to be a refreshingly honest conversation about how the role of quality professionals is currently transforming. It is moving beyond fixing bugs and audit to shaping cultures, mindsets, and the very future of quality engineering careers in modern engineering organizations. I was just scrolling through the internet a while back and I saw that there is a video of 𝐔𝐝𝐢𝐭 in which he's talking about how there is a shift happening from vibe coding to, agentic engineering. So that's the era we are in today. And I think this is a great conversation to have at this point of time. So now let me introduce you to the guest on the show, someone whose journey is as inspiring as the conversation he would, of course, spark it in the next couple of minutes. So joining us today is Udit Gatani, who's Senior Engineering Manager at Mercari, a seasoned leader who brings in nearly 16 years of global experience across engineering, quality assurance, and scaling high impact, high volume projects. So, of course, Udit has led cross functional teams in product driven organizations as well as built scalable quality assurance and automation frameworks and delivered really complex initiatives across multiple geographies. Very excited to have you here, Udit, and truly an honor to host you. Would be of course, in today's session, Udit is going to take us deep into a conversation which many quality leaders are quietly wrestling, why teams often slip back into old habits once consultants leave, and what it really takes to embed lasting quality thinking into everyday engineering practices and decisions. So, together, we'll of course explore how quality assurance professionals can evolve from execution heavy roles into influential coaches within their organizations, how organizations can basically balance governance with autonomy, which matrices quietly reflect sustainable quality improvements, and overall, what the future of quality career in quality engineering truly looks like. So let's get into the discussion. But before we do that, Udit, would love to hear more about your journey. What have you done so far in the last couple of years?
Okay, thank you, Kavya, first of all, for inviting me here. And I'm already overexcited with the intro, what you have shared about me. Maybe it's too much. But yeah, hello everyone. I'm looking forward to it. I'm Udit. I'm currently into around my 16th year of professional journey, and I've been closely associated with quality engineering for a significant part of it overall. Yeah. And if I try to look back, I've seen the evolution from the purpose of, like, from the way I was doing field testing in telecom, and then growing more towards building automation, scalable automation frameworks, always focusing on how we can really generate a better ROI from automation, spreading the word of testing best practices across the organizations I've been part of. And ultimately, the goal is how do we really deliver a high quality product to our customer. So more recently, I've been also spending a good amount of time in exploring AI tools, agentic approaches to make even engineering and overall quality processes even more efficient and adaptable. Apart from that, I've also spent almost half of my professional career working in Japan, which we all know is often seen as a benchmark for high quality and building high quality products, right? So that experience has really shaped me or my perspective well enough on what quality means and why it matters so much in the product what we build as well as in our day-to-day life, right? Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to the experience we deliver to our end users. So whether it's really, are we making that enough justice with the quality or not? And yeah, currently I'm working with Mercari India, as Kavya also mentioned. I'm trying to support and contributing to deliver high quality products to our end users. That's pretty much about me. And yeah, once again, I'm really happy to be here and share some of my experience today. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Udit. That's a great summary of what you've been doing so far. I really appreciate it. So let's jump into the first question that we have today, which is why do teams revert to old habits after consultants leave, even with strong processes in place? And what gaps prevent sustained ownership of quality as a whole?
Okay, that's an interesting first question. Yeah, to be honest, and this also reminds me one of my experience in previous teams actually, because
Mm-hmm.
I remember like, and it's a common problem. I remember even one of my previous teams, we brought in multiple consultants, or we can say quality or automation consultant, to stabilize a very flaky automation suite, for example, and then within a couple of months things started looking really great. The whole reliability got improved. The pass percentage of the test were really high. Pipelines were running really faster, and even releases overall were very smooth. So it was really paying a good ROI in terms of what was expected for.
Mm-hmm.
Soon after that, again, relating to your question, like as soon as the consultant or the people left that particular team, soon after 2, 3 months after they rolled off, we started seeing the legacy issues or the same similar issues or are creeping back. To be honest, being the amount of flaky tests, amount of failures overall, and eventually leading to slower releases back to what it used to be long before.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we look deeper, the problem really was not the solution there.
Mm-hmm.
It was that the team never really owned it. So what has
Mm-hmm.
happened is the consultant had set things up, but the team wasn't confident enough maintaining or evolving it. And that's where the problem overall like came in picture, that as soon as the person left, the whole strong processes in place came back to the old habits. So basically, in a way, it was probably, we can say, under delivery pressure. They started bypassing things again, which is more like a human psychology, or we try to neglect the things which we think are not that important. But at the same time, that's when it became clear that if the team doesn't build that capability by themselves, the improvement doesn't or cannot last for a longer time. So that's what I think. Again, based on this kind of issues, or have been faced in many past experiences, and the learning is more about rather than like, that's what we really need to change. Rather than the process, the engineering ownership plays a key role here, or the overall mindset plays a key role, because quality is something that should be than an optional thought or an afterthought, right, for the whole team. So maybe, yeah, the answer is, or the experience is, it's not a process problem, to be honest. If a experienced person leaves the team, or experienced quality consultant go away from the team, why teams go back to the legacy way or in the bad shape again. But the main issue is ownership problem here. So if the team doesn't build that capability or ownership, the improvement may not last for longer. So that is something I think we should really focus on. We even the role of consultant is evolving today by being more or acting more as an enabler, rather than
Mm-hmm.
just fixing a problem in one shot and just leave it there. So we really need to think from an enablement perspective. And yeah, that's how the need of the role itself now.
Great. Thank you so much. One second. I mean, yeah, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Udit. Really appreciate, that opening statement, of course. I think ownership of quality is definitely something that a lot of teams should pay attention into. And I think that also brings me to the second question of the day that we have, which is what mindset shifts are needed for quality engineering professionals to move from execution focused roles to coaching and influencing teams effectively?
Okay, so basically to move from execution focus to a coaching kind of a mindset, I think
Hmm.
overall this is a big shift because this really takes a good amount of time to learn all the stages that also comes in between. So yeah, I do agree. Traditionally, QA has been very execution focused, execution heavy. We can say owning most of the feature testing part. The goal used to find bugs, more and more bugs, and then yeah, validate those bugs once that's gets fixed. But in a coaching model, I think what is more important is also what is your impact, because your impact may comes less from what you do by yourself, but more from what the team is able to do without you. Yeah, I mean, this is what I also basically try to tell my team when I try to coach them. So the mindset we need to see from a perspective that again changing from whether my goal is to how do I catch more defect versus how do I prevent them from being happen at the first place itself, or prevent them from being created itself. The goal should might also shift from how do I ensure quality from there to how do I enable the team to own that whole quality. Again, a follow from the last question kind of a thing. So it also requires overall uh, how much comfortable do you feel letting things go off your control. So you won't always be the one writing the test, reviewing the every detail of it. You are guiding, you are influencing, and sometimes just asking the right questions. So yeah, overall, it's the in summary, I think rather than finding bugs, the goal should be how do you prevent bugs, and rather than from just doing it, how do you really enable it, or make people more accountable and enable about it. So yeah, I mean, as a closure, like yeah, your impact is really what the team can do without you, and not with you in particular. Especially that goes really, or I feel it's really applied to QA engineers across the board. Yeah.
That is great. And of course, that also brings me to understand you did speak about how the importance of coaching and influencing the team becomes really so important that the team itself is starting to basically execute on its own, for instance, or strategically think more or less, right? So how can organizations embed quality into daily engineering decisions itself so that it becomes more like a shared responsibility rather than a separate or a late stage activity? Because we don't want that we don't want that the customers are bringing the bugs after a product has gone into production, for instance, or is live in front of millions of people, right? So how essentially can you make this happen?
Okay, yeah, it's a great question, and the short answer is again, it is something that can happen only gradually, not in the overnight. And then to start with the focus, or it should start by shifting again quality left. We have been talking about shift left approaches as a very like traditional topic, but at the same time, shift left should not only in terms of testing, it should also be in terms of thinking. For example, instead of a QA engineer validating requirements later, quality conversation should happen during the design itself. So it's more about how do we really start thinking from the very left of the whole cycle. We should ask some questions to ourselves, like what could go wrong here when the conversation start from the very beginning, let's say from the design phase. How do we really observe this whole feature in production? What is the rollback plan? What is the impact of it? What's the business outcome or business metrics of it? And also at the same time, it's also important that the developer need to feel accountable for quality, not just functionality. Because if we really want to embed this into our daily engineering practices or decisions, I think that comes with more again with the ownership and accountability. So again, I think once we start setting a clear expectation, even for the developers, that They are not supposed to only deliver functionalities or features, but they are also accountable for quality or making a right product to be delivered to the customer. Maybe those things will gradually improve. The strong engineering practices will play a key role here, and then most importantly, as I also said, we need to think from a QA people as an enabler, how they really enable the whole team. And of course, to some extent, to make this happen, because this is again, in a way, you are trying to break comfort zone for many of the teams. So it requires some sort of a leadership reinforcement as well, that this is what an expectation from each and every maybe developer or engineer out in the organization. So yeah, when quality becomes part of your maybe everyday decision, I would say, not a separate phase altogether, it is naturally becomes a shared ownership and then gets embedded in your daily engineering decision or practices overall. So yeah, I mean, we really need to ask whether quality becomes real. When is that, like, basically when teams ask these questions to themselves, what they really and then start thinking, shifting left in terms of overall thinking, not
Yep.
just testing point of view. Yeah, that's
Got
my
it.
thought.
Thank you so much, Udit. Really appreciate it. And I think, one question that comes up to me is because the way Mercari, for instance, is structured, right? It's a multinational organization. It's an MNC with presence across the globe, for instance, and it would have multiple teams across. Is there any thing that worked for you, or would like to share with the audience today on how, with a distributed team structure as Mercari's, for instance, at a global stage, right? How do you ensure that quality is basically embedded in daily engineering decisions across all these different teams, all across the globe? Do you have anything specific to share from that perspective? Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of enterprises, quality managers at enterprise levels would definitely be able to relate with it.
Yeah, of course, of course. I think we are also not doing like again what I mentioned in my previous answer is again following the shift left thinking approach. That is what we are trying to basically make it as part of a daily norm or a kind of a daily engineering decision practice. Because I think most of the problem will get solved automatically when we
Mm-hmm.
really think from that perspective. When people, all the engineers, all the members of the company really do feel accountable for quality, not
Mm-hmm.
just their own role or not just their functionality. So the what we are also trying to do is we are trying to evolve the role itself of all the people in terms of specifically engineers, that setting up the clear expectation that strong engineering practice, including quality best practices, is part of our like core engineering
Mm-hmm.
overall, or best practices, I can say like that. And then, of course, there is a good support, good reinforcement, even from the leadership, in order to make this happen, in order to
Mm-hmm.
shift mindset. And the similar good case or good examples, what we are able to, let's say, implement in A team, we are also trying to make it happen in B team. And of course, in the beginning, maybe a similar set of process won't work for all the teams, because every
Yeah.
team, every project, every business stream is into different stage, right, of their development
Yeah.
cycle. So not a fixed model of process may work, but at least
Mm-hmm.
a good list of checkpoints, at least the core theme of that process, the core shift left kind of a mindset thinking will definitely help. And over the period of time, we can definitely observe a good like an outcome or a quality mindset, even in terms of numbers, even in terms of the amount of deliverables we are going to make, or we are able to make with lesser issues, uh, how, in what ways we are able to make our business metrics better, we are able to make our customers more happy. So yeah, I mean, that way we can again try to replicate a good
Mm-hmm.
example into more other teams, and then take it more gradually and then make it an overall success. So yeah, I mean, Mercury is also, or at least I'm trying to follow the similar model to make sure, taking the support from the whole team, that we make sure we really enable all the teams, not just focus only on feature testing and that's it. Yeah.
Perfect. That definitely sounds helpful. So this also brings us to the next question, which is what practical techniques help build trust and overcome resistance when coaching teams have to take real ownership of quality?
Okay, so you mean what practical techniques really help?
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I can share based on my experience. I don't know whether there is a good checklist to follow or not. But yeah, one thing
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely learned is coaching doesn't work when it feels like auditing or when it feels like enforcement. It
Mm-hmm.
really works, especially though we are when we are using AI a lot in this era, we will continue
Yeah.
to, but at the end we are still humans, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
really need to think from that perspective that yeah, coaching doesn't work if it looks
Yeah.
like you are trying to do some audit or you
Mm-hmm.
are trying to give some set of processes just to follow.
Yeah.
Rather, if the team basically, why I'm saying that is if the team feel that they are being judged,
Yeah.
they may try to resist. They may
Mm-hmm.
not try to, because this will more like an overhead to what is already
Yeah.
going. But at the same time, if they feel supported, if they understand the
Mm-hmm.
behind it, they will engage more. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's what I think has really worked well compared with direct enforcement or compared with only making it a mandate to follow such a list of process. So yeah, I mean
Mm-hmm.
overall, in short, like start with a good context without with a
Mm-hmm.
very it can really bring upon
Mm-hmm.
not criticism overall, like understand why teams are working on a certain way first. What is their challenge? What is how this kind of a change or a mindset change can really help them. Use some real examples which I was talking about, that some good examples or some good shift from a particular team instead of giving only a set of generic best practices in a way. And at the same time, like ask question instead of maybe giving them a list of process to follow or an instruction to follow, rather than understand
Mm-hmm.
what is that fear which is making
Mm-hmm.
them stop to really work on those maybe or what is that real resistance to really implement those practical techniques.
Yeah.
And I try to again show some quick wins, maybe as I mentioning, right? If one of the team following a similar process really got a good result, maybe that can be used as an example, like how these kind of small steps can really make the improvements or make everyone's life easier, not only the
Yeah.
better overall. So yeah, I mean, it's more about building trust,
Mm-hmm.
making people comfortable by maybe demonstrating, highlighting small wins gradually, and then let them consider that it's not like you are adding an additional process just for the sake of it, but actually you are helping them to move faster with a better quality. So that kind of a confidence may be a key in this overall picture. But yeah, I mean, that's how it worked. If I really
Mm-hmm.
look back, gaining that trust was maybe a main hurdle, but after that things really went very smooth, and more than I am pushing about those practices, a team itself are more getting more adaptable, more ready to really utilize or make their as part of the daily like life cycle overall in terms of development. So yeah, that's way I think it can help. Yeah.
Great. Great, thank you. So, you've of course worked with many organizations or teams at a very fast-paced environment as well, right? Which metrics or say signals truly reflect that sustainable quality improvements beyond defect counts or test coverage? Can you share that with our audience, please?
Okay, I mean, if you would have asked me this question maybe 5 years ago, my answer would have been different. But again,
Mm-hmm.
I do understand. We do have, or across the globe, as part of quality, we talk about traditional metrics like maybe
Mm-hmm.
bug count, defect count, or test coverage when it
Yeah.
comes to automation. Of course, I'm not denying these metrics are really useful. but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, they don't really tell the full story.
Mm-hmm.
For example, instead of that, I believe that the following signals, like how early we are able to catch issues.
Mm-hmm.
Or in a way, this also gives a shift left effectiveness, how really we are catching the bug at the early stages. How often we are seeing the repeated issues. How can we really make sure that we don't even like get it happen or make it happen?
Yep.
What is the stability of our releases over the period of time? Is there real improvement in terms of that, rather than just focusing on again on a traditional metrics like defect count, coverage, and all
Mm-hmm.
those? Because there is no point to keep on increasing coverage if there is no
Mm-hmm.
stability over the period of time in terms of releases, right? So again, these traditional metrics matters. At the same time,
Mm-hmm.
we might need to also look into the signals, what I mentioned. And even some qualitative analysis or qualitative signals might also help, because at the end, you would like to feel like how confidently teams are shipping changes. So that
Yep.
confidence is something really matters.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you are confident that your release or your whatever changes you are trying to ship won't create any major issues, repeated issues, because you have already tested it thoroughly at all the stages. Eventually, I think that's a good win overall in this fast-paced environment. And yeah, I mean, another again qualitative aspect is or important aspect is team behavior towards it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are really how much team is relying on a QA person or QA engineer on all these things. Are
Yep.
developers itself writing meaningful tests at the first place, being its unit test or integration test? Are quality discussions happening again proactively starting from the beginning? So it's more about sustainable quality. I would say it is not only about numbers in isolation.
Mm.
It's
Right.
more about like observing patterns over the period of time, and that's where we get the proper signal. And again, make it as an ownership model rather than only a process model. Maybe will really help. So yeah, I mean, it's a mix of, in summary, I can say it's a mix of traditional metrics plus more advanced signals that can give you
Mm-hmm.
even more confidence to release and ship faster with high quality. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, Udit. This also brings us to the last question of the day, which is how do you see QA role evolving in modern product organizations, and what should professionals focus on in order to remain relevant? It would also be great if you can share how essentially have you seen this change within Mercari, for instance, so that our audience is able to take away insights based on real world examples.
Okay. So yeah, maybe similar to many other roles, or I would say almost all the roles.
Mm-hmm.
Their role is also evolving, and then with the era of AI, or with the era of as you say, modern product organization, the way of working, even the professional focus is also like getting changed. So it's more about like moving from a role to a capability or to an enabler, I would say, from that angle. Like so, how do you really basically, maybe going forward we'll see very fewer roles focus purely on execution, as we also talked about, but more focused on coaching, more focused on how do you really take quality to the next level. How do you really make use of tools, or make yourself better in utilization of different tools and agents? How do you really act as an enabler? Because those are the things, even for a QA role, in my opinion, requires really a good evolution, rather than just purely focusing on execution or functional test or feature test, what we call about. And yeah, of course, all like with the AI coming more and more into picture, the idea is to like reduce a lot of repetitive work. For example, how we used to create test generation or even basic validation. Now all those things can really be accelerated. Even we are like I can say my current example, or the way we are trying to function, we are really trying to like automate all those repetitive work, which is really making us focus on more again, or towards the evolution of the role itself, focusing more on like coaching towards utilization of those tools or tooling and enablement of the team itself. So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, or in terms of value of how the QA professional should behave or should evolve, is will eventually come from more from like critical thinking, how they are really thinking in a direction of product quality, deeper system level understanding, because now I think it's a good chance to even spend more time to understand system level or system into a more thorough level, because you are anyway automating your repetitive work or utilizing AI agents to do that, right? And the ability to influence overall like engineering best practices, or how do you really incorporate quality best practices as part of engineering practices as a common norm. So in a way, QA becomes basically less about testing the product or acting as a functional tester, and more about shaping the product. We can say how it is built, or shaping the engineering team itself to act as a better quality mindset or inherited mindset overall. So I think maybe that way we can really evolve this role, and that way I think we can make a bigger success and play a
Mhm.
bigger role also in the company, by making sure that we are putting a good justice to this role itself. Yeah.
No, I really, thank you for those insights, Udit. And yeah, I mean, that brings us to the end of the webinar. I really appreciate you for sharing so many insights with us today as part of the TestMu AI XP webinar series. Thank you so much, Udit, for a very thoughtful and candid, of course, valuable conversation. Um, I'm pretty sure that the audience is basically going to take away on how based on your perspective and your thoughts, right, on how they can start building lasting quality careers and cultures within the organizations and reshape the way quality engineering is basically headed. So yeah, really appreciate you taking the time out for us today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here once again, and it's always feel very good to stay connected with the QA community, because we all are learning and evolving over the period of time. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'm also hopeful that the audience out here will definitely. I mean, I'm able to share some of my experience, hopefully, and it can help them. But yeah, I mean, at the end, let's all learn and try to evolve. Let's see how it goes.
Well said. Thank you so much, Udit. And of course, to our audience, be sure to follow TestMe AI on social channels and stay tuned for more speakers, incredible speakers, and powerful conversations which are lined up in the upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep raising the bar when it comes to quality. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day and take care. Thanks,
Thank you.
Udit. Thanks once again.
Oh, yeah. Bye
Bye.
bye.